executives of the Ghana Journalists Association, our distinguished invited guest and speaker for this morning's occasion, distinguished invited guests, our friends from the Inky fraternity, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I bring to you the warm regards of the Honorable Minister for Information, Kojo Nkrumah, who would have loved to have been here with us this afternoon himself, but he has had to travel out of the jurisdiction on an equally important engagement of state, the spring meetings of the IMF about resuming, and he is part of a delegation heading to Washington to engage with the Bretton Woods institutions for and on our behalf. He, however, wishes for me to once again congratulate the Ghana Journalists Association, its leadership, current and present, current and past, for having steered the affairs of this association, has played its part in the political, socio-economic development of this country. We do recognize that the GJA has particularly been at the forefront for the struggle for democratization of the space, citizen participation in decision making, and also fighting the ills of society, some of which include, but not limited to, Galamsey, for instance. Journalists of this country waged a war on this immorality, on this evil practice. The government of the day, led by His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo, partnered with the Ghanaian journalists, and today, as we speak, we are beginning to see results even on that space. And so the contribution of the Ghanaian journalists to the development of this country is not in doubt. At occasions and during moments like this, it is important that we continue to celebrate our friends from the fraternity. We recognize you as partners in development. And if there is still any doubt in the minds of anybody that this administration has any problems with journalism or media practice, I think that gathering in this venue today, 70 years later on, knowing the history that we now know, we have to leave this building reassuring ourselves that this is a tradition, this is a political party that believes in media freedom. We are the pro-media people. I recall that this beautiful edifice was gifted the association by this tradition. The repeal of the criminal libel, which allowed some of us young journalists to begin to do some experimentation, also happened when this tradition was in power. Again, the passage of the Right to Information Bill happened under this tradition. And of course, a major beneficiary of the RTI will be the journalists, because the manner in which information is sought is now regulated. It's not like the freedom was not there. The freedom to access information had always been there. It's been in our constitution from 1992. But how to actualize and to access the information was a major challenge and difficulty for Ghanaian journalists and for the Ghanaian citizenry. Today, because of the passage of the RTI, we have fashioned out in a constitutional manner the way to access information. Again, at the Ministry of Information, we are working seriously towards two important products that we believe will also go a long way to assist journalists in the conduct of their work. The capacity enhancement program and also the coordinated mechanism on the safety of journalists. And so rest assured, Ghanaian journalists, that you do have a friend and a partner in this administration. The New Patriotic Party is the pro-media and the pro-freedom political party in Ghana. On a day like this, and I think that we have also chosen a very, very particularly important topic to discuss, and I want to commend the GJA. This is the third in the series of the public lectures that they are organizing as part of the anniversary celebrations. So we are not just making merry, even though we have all the reasons to make merry after 70 odd years. We are also using this opportunity to brainstorm and to reflect on some of the contemporary challenges that confront us, with a view to fashioning solutions to these. And I think that the executives of the GJA have to be commended. I think that the topic for this morning's interaction is important and very useful. And our speaker, a former GM of the GNA, Nana Apaudua, and the current MD have done justice to the topic. I believe that when we say that we inherited some legacy challenges, I think Mr. Due's presentation and the answers that have been given by our gentlemen will attest to the fact that we were not a government that was born with a silver spoon in our mouth. We rather inherited some legacy challenges. By their nature, the challenges that we inherited will take some time to fix. But what is refreshing is that we are committed to fixing those challenges. The current MD has reported that there has been extensive work done on the restructuring and resourcing of the GNA, and not just the GNA. In fact, all the state-owned media institutions were on their knees when we took over. The Times, the Graphic, the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, the Information Services Department, and the GNA were all on their knees. It is true that the last time that the GNA had any support by way of logistics and equipment to do their work was within the tenure of the last NPP administration in 2007. Since then, not much, in fact, not one logistic or equipment had been provided by the GNA. My mathematics is correct, that is some 12 years and counting. No institution can perform up to optimum with the kind of history that the GNA has. Again, beyond the GNA, even the Information Services Department, which is also an agency of the ministry, the last time that the Abain-Sini, the Abain-Sini that we all know, the cinema vans that are critical to the performance of the ISD, the last time that these Abain-Sini, these cinema vans were also provided was under, again, the last NPP administration. We do this because as a pro-media and a pro-government government, a pro-freedom government, we believe that the people of Ghana deserve, as a matter of right, to get information on what their tax monies are being used for, and to also be given the opportunity to offer crucial feedback to government. And that is why we have seen investments into the media institutions, both public and private, a duty that we have to perform. It's a shame that when, unfortunately, the NPP administration lost the elections after 2008, not much have been done by way of investing into these agencies. Regrettably, ladies and gentlemen, what happened was a collapse of the Ministry of Information and an unholy marriage of that ministry to another ministry. Ladies and gentlemen, it is important that we pay attention to the severity of some of the decisions that our forebears took. What happened then was that we de-emphasized the importance of institutions such as the GNA and the ISD because they became only a drop in a huge ocean. The Ministry of Information was collapsed and submerged under the huge and humongous Ministry of Communication. And so, when the list of priorities are being drawn, it was nobody's fault that GNA came last. When the list of priorities was being drawn, it was nobody's fault that ISD came last. Because in that new structure that was created, the GNA and the ISD were at the bottom of the priority list. Under this administration, even though we stand accused of creating quite a number of ministries, but because we want to pay attention to giving information to the people of Ghana as a matter of right, today, under the separate Ministry of Information, the priorities are GNA and ISD. And I think that that's a good thing. And it is because of that, that today we have before Cabinet a Cabinet proposal that is looking at reinvestments into the GNA. And we have the same for the ISD. We have considered the options of the state leading in the restructuring and the resourcing. We have considered the option of getting private participation. We have considered the option of letting the GNA as it is today stand. We have considered the option of shutting GNA down. We are minded to support the option of the state reinvesting and repositioning the GNA. That is the choice that the government of the day has made. And we make that choice because of the sentiments that have been expressed by earlier speakers. In today's world of competing news, people are in a hurry to break the news. They have citizen journalism, we have opinion journalism. We need a source to validate. And it is our considered view that because the GNA does not have the limitations of the personal biases of media owners, the political motivation of media owners, and ladies and gentlemen in the media, you know this more than I do, that some of the media houses we have in this country have safely described themselves as either pro-NPP or pro-NDC, to the extent that when some of them break the laws, they rely on that same classification as an indemnity. So if they do not have a license or they have not renewed their subscription and the regulator moves against them, they rely on their political coloration as their indemnity. That's the reality. And that is why we need the go-to validator, parochial or personal interests, such as profits, such as the politics of the ownership, and so on and so forth. And that is why we believe that the state has to reinvest in GNA, and the state has to reposition GNA. As we speak, we have submitted a proposal to Cabinet. It is our view, knowing the precedent that we have, that our proposal will find favor with Cabinet, and that very soon we shall see some resourcing and repositioning of the GNA. Ladies and gentlemen, I intend not to make a long speech. I think that I have said enough. Let me reiterate our commitment to the Ghana News Agency. We see their relevance. We want to reposition it. We have charged the current management to come up with some options. And even before I became deputy minister, the website of the GNA, the general manager briefed us, was not owned and controlled by them. It was, for want of a better expression, it was held in trust. And so we have decided as a ministry, even before we approve of the general plan, the transformation plan, which is to digitize the GNA, to be able to also go into audiovisual presentations. We have spoken about the GNA TV concept, for instance, not the traditional television, but something that is able to also offer audiovisual presentations. We have also spoken about a redemarcation of the GNA districts. We see that there may be an over-concentration on some parts of the country, much to the neglect of some other parts of the country. So we have to remap and reorganize the presence of the GNA so that they can be able to cover the country in its entirety, and so on and so forth. Even as we get there, we have made the first initial commitment to allow the GNA operate their own and maintain their own website, their own GNA-controlled website. And the minister has made firm commitments and has given times. The ministry is finding money and putting it behind the GNA. We also have made proposals to make the GNA or give the GNA the capacity to retain their IGF. They do not have the LI 680 that establishes the GNA, does not allow them to retain IGF. But like has been said before, news can also be money. And if you reposition and you resource the GNA, you can put it in a position to be able to retain their IGF, and then they can be able to even run on their own. Those are some of the considerations that we are having at the ministry, and I again want to assure the Ghana Journalists Association, who have a very strong relationship with the GNA, maybe because all or majority of the workers at the GNA are all members of the GJA, but there appears to be a huge, a deep relationship between the Ghana News Agency and the Ghana Journalists Association. And so, Mr. President, please be assured that the GNA is in very safe hands under the leadership of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and we shall do our part to make sure that the GNA of old comes back to life, and that it even is able to perform better than the GNA that we all knew in the past. I thank you very much.